Today's show is brought to you by Mouska Planner. You're paying for a travel agent? You may as well use the best. Contact Mouska Planner today. What do you do with your ears when it's raining in the park? The answer is Ponchier, the first internationally patented poncho that is designed to protect and display your headgear in the rain without ever having to remove them. Ponchier features a patented hood with extended visor to add additional coverage to protect your face. Find them online on your favorite social media or at their website, ponchier.co today. Welcome to the all-new FPE Network.
The Florida Park Explorers.
We explore the parks 5 to 6 days a week with great live streams and vlogs. We cover everything from rides and food to magic and fun and fireworks. So come join us on our adventures as we take you through
the Disney parks and more.
Check out our all-new channel, the FPE Network. And thanks for watching.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Galactic Council. I am your Emperor host. I don't know my name, but I'm here. So anyway, what an epic week for Star Wars. We're going to dive right in. I want to say hi to everybody. Welcome into Paul's Adventures and our newest member, Elaine Look, and welcome into Walking in the Woods. Gene Fitzmagic, our partner, like FP partner. Like he's here, the beard and everything. We've got 4 amazing people with us tonight that are on the council. They are with us every week. You guys know who they are. We love them dearly. They are amazing, awesome, great people. Let's get them in immediately because there's so much to talk about with Star Wars this week. It is not even funny. So if you did not see the episode, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the episode. And with that, let's start right off the bat. We're going to bring in from the West Coast. We're going to bring him in. He's got earphones on. He's been called lots of things. The latest thing is Darth Larry.
Hey, how's it going, Dave?
How are you, man? How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks. Hey, everybody in the chat.
You excited about tonight?
Yeah, it's a great episode. A lot to talk about. Very excited. Definitely.
This is going to be a lot of fun. This is the Boba Fett we've been waiting for. So.
Exactly. Yep.
With that, we're going to bring in our next cast of characters. the person who we go to when we want to know if we're right or wrong, because he's going to correct us anyway. With that, let's bring in Grand Moff, Marc Valentine.
Hey. Larry, Dave,
Hey.
chat.
Hey, Marc.
Hello, gentlemen. Very excited to be here as always. Thank you for welcoming me to the council. Let's get into Star Wars, guys.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it any better if I tried. And with that, we're going to bring in our Loki lookalike. He's sitting in tonight for our Jedi Master. He looks just like him. Let's see if you're the judge of that. Let's bring in Jedi Master Loki DC. I rest my case.
There.
How are
Council,
you?
Marc, Larry, Dave.
DC.
Great to
DC.
see all of you. I am so happy to be here with all of you, and especially after such an amazing show last night, and getting to share that energy with the group of you guys is just amazing. So let's continue the Galactic Council and bring in the next bit of fun.
There's more?
All right.
Wow.
Dave,
With
you
that,
promised more.
I'm gonna bring in somebody who's a Luke Skywalker lookalike. Wait until you see this one. Here he comes. Everybody knows him as the Flyboy, Sith Lord Groot.
Hey,
Oh, look at that.
you guys gotta use this thing.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice.
Hey, DC, Larry,
Yeah.
Marc, hello. God,
How's it going, crew?
what?
So I'm sitting in getting ready to come on, and all of a sudden I look down and I see DC. I see Crew getting geared up, and I'm like,
I mean,
last week it was DC in the dark. This week it's Dancing in the Dark.
it doesn't work though. I don't.
Yeah.
And then
DC
all of a
has
sudden
to work.
I look down, I see the helmets on. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's on. So anyway, welcome in chat. Welcome in crew. What are you holding
Glad to
up?
be here. Let's get this Star Wars show started.
Let's get it going. Tonight's going to be a little bit of a different format for everybody who's joining us, who's been used to it week after week. We are still going to go through the entire episode, but we're not going to give you 5 perspectives. We're going to kind of come at this a little differently, engage the chat a lot more. We want you guys to get involved. This is probably one of the best Star Wars episodes. I'm going to make a bold statement. It's one of my favorite of all time. Movies, sidebars, you name it, different shows, even including The Mandalorian. This was epic, and we're going to get into why. I mean, if you didn't see the show, shame on you. But basically, I mean, let's just go around. Everybody name a character. Larry, who's somebody that we haven't seen?
Cad Bane.
Marc.
It's nice to see Ahsoka again.
DC.
Luke motherfrickin' Skywalker.
Thank you for the motherfucking crew.
R2D2.
So we also bring back in Darth Wookiee, which makes me happy. We get to see the Vespa gang. We bring in the Marshal again. We bring in so many different aspects. That's not counting Mando's still in it. How about Grogu? There's so many things to this that we're going to unpack. We're going to do it faster. We're all going to be talking about different segments. And then if somebody thinks something's missing, we're going to jump in. That includes you, chat. So if you guys think that something's missing from the episode, jump in, call them out, tell them they're right or wrong. They're Star Wars experts. So are you. Jump in and give them a hard time. I beg you. So with that, we're going to get started right off the bat. Last week we learned our lesson, by the way, with doing video. We won't be doing that this week. So we're back to pictures so that we can kind of go through and show everything. We open right off the bat. What do we see? All right. There's a spice deal going on. We get to finally see whoops, that's a bad picture. We get to see our long lost friend from Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So with that, let's start off with who wants to jump in on the first opening episode of the opening of the episode. Larry, you want to go?
Yeah. I'll talk about that. So the return of Kyle Vanth is very cool. He just like appears out of nowhere. You know, it's like there's no buildings anywhere in sight, right? The Pikes think they're all alone, and there he is. Poof. It's like magic. He just pops in. He's right there. And so, you know, he's calm, cool, collected. He talks to him. It's like, hey, you know, this is my area here. Los Belagos, this is me. I'm the marshal of this territory, and you're not welcome here. And he's still without the armor, very formidable. You know, there's 4 Pikes and he's by himself, and he just doesn't back down. So I thought it was a great re-entry of Cobb Vanth.
How about how once he sits there and he goes, okay, you're the smart one. He gives him the warning, sends him on his way.
Mm-hmm.
What does he do after that, and why?
Well, I think that they leave the chest of spice there. You know, he lets him go, and he kicks it over. He's like, I'm not. The Pike even said, this is worth more than your town.
Yep.
And he basically like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You're not welcome here. And he kicks it over into the sand. It just shows that he's kind of drawn that line in the sand saying, you're not welcome here, and take your spice and get out.
Yep.
Yeah. DC, you got something to add?
No, just basically that's it. It's like that spice is worthless compared to what his town is worth to him.
Right.
Because he realizes that spice is basically a scourge on the planet of Tatooine, and he wants to remove that scourge from the planet.
Well, we kind of find out a little later once he and Mando are sitting down in the bar. And in this episode, we are going to skip around a little bit so that we can make the points that have to be made so that we can go a little faster. But when he gets into the bar a little later with Mando, what does he sit there and say? We're now, we're Freetown. Yeah, we're better than we were. That's a city problem. So that 100% agree on point that, he's like, I'm the sheriff, like I'm going to do what I got to do. It's the Old West.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything to that before we
I just want to take a quick pulse of the panel. Would anyone tune in to Justified in Space? I know that this guy would. Give me a Cobb Vanth series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Show of hands, guys.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's good.
That's it.
So,
that's all
by the way, since we'll get there in a minute, because the Justified reference is phenomenal, and as a matter of fact, you beat me to it because I was going to do it when they were, in the middle of the street. So good for you for beating me to it. All right, so moving on. Obviously, we had the opening credits, and we skip over, and where do we find Mando? He is heading just like he left in the last episode. So this is the time where I get to call out the council for a second, and it's good to be Emperor. I believe on this very council last week, we heard the words, we will not see Luke. We will not see Grogu. We will not have any interactions of any kind like this. I would like to sit there and go like this.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
You were all wrong. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But what it tells us is that we have absolutely no idea where they're going with the writing or what they're doing. And that the most obvious turn of events, he sat there and said it last week, I'm going to find the kid. We thought that they might pull what they did the week before, which is have nothing.
Right.
And what did they do? They didn't kind of jump into the story. They cannonballed. And it was like, hey, by the way, not only are we going there, crew, I'm going to go ahead and go to you. He lands his ship. You see the little beep, 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 beep. As soon as you saw it, you knew who it was.
I knew exactly. That was R2-D2's radar.
Mm-hmm.
And then R2 greets him, if you will, and takes him to how far do you want me to go with this? Because
go up to the bench.
Okay. So R2 greets him, brings him up to what I knew was going to be droids building Luke Skywalker's new Jedi school. Because we saw that with Kylo Ren in one of the scenes, like it had to have been. So we see these droids building this temple. The funny thing is about the bench is R2 goes to sleep. And then a funny comedic relief is Mando looks over and goes, is anyone listening? He goes, is that a bench? And they put like palm trees there for him to go to sleep. But R2's asleep. And it's like, hey, dude, rest. Someone will be here for you shortly.
How long am I going to be here is what he says.
Yeah, but like when he looks at it, he goes, all right, I guess I'll lay down. The droids shut down. None of these other droids that are building this Jedi school are going to answer me. So I guess I'll lay down. And it's kind of funny just because he says, like, I watched like 4 times. He goes, is that a bench?
Yeah.
And they're building it for him. Like, why like that? And then he lays down. In reality, like, that's all I really have to say. Like, R2's, spitting out probably his cuss words and things like that at him. But
I don't know. Hey, R2 seems kind of low key, actually.
I don't know. He's probably like saying, hey, go take a nap.
He's like, chill, dude.
Yeah. Like,
I just like the fact that what you wound up having were spider droids. If Ron Weasley was there, he would have been like, Was it going to be spiders? You know, it's like, what an epic way to come in. So here's a question I want the council to kind of go over, because you guys are the experts, and there's a lot of people who are going to watch this that are not as informed as you are. End of Mandalorian to this. In other words, Luke comes in, takes Grogu, takes off, and he takes him to this planet. How long has gone by?
6 months to a year, probably.
I'm going to go with DC, not long.
Yeah, I don't think, not very long.
Because R2's still there.
Yeah.
Where R2 is, Luke is. And we saw in The Mandalorian when Luke grabbed Grogu, I would agree with DC, 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, because even with Grogu's training, he still seems like real basic. Like he really hasn't taught him anything. So in that timeline, definitely not very long.
See, and that's kind of the overall, because what winds up happening as we start to go through it is, obviously we're going to get to Luke and Grogu and what happens. But it was just kind of like a time thing. It's like, all right, so we can see how fast those droid spiders can work. So to me, it was kind of like that. And with what comes a little later with Grogu and Luke, it was like, well, wait a minute. Has he been here like a week? Is it a month? How long has it been? Because Mando's like, well, I miss him.
Right.
So just wanted to give you, like, you guys are observant. You're watching. You know the timelines pretty well. If anyone had an opinion as to what it was. So back to, I'm laying on a bench waiting for someone to come and get me. And who does he wake up and see? Let's see. Who we gave up Ahsoka to DC. So DC.
Yes. Well, better than waking up to Ahsoka, he draws his weapon to Ahsoka.
Yes. Who doesn't react. You're
right. She's as cool as a cucumber, which is amazing. In a true former Jedi fashion. That's how she responds. Whilst Din, he responds in a true Mandalorian bounty hunter assassin form, which is really neat to see the dichotomy of how they approach the universe that they live in, the same exact universe. To which, Ahsoka even says in their conversation, there's no safer place in the galaxy for Grogu to be than right here, right now.
With Luke. Exactly. So I thought it was a really good interaction with the two of them, the way that, she doesn't move. Like, he draws down and she's just standing there like, whatever.
Right.
Please, it's a blaster. Do you know what I'm going to do? And the mutual respect.
Right?
Yeah. But the mutual respect is like, because of the interaction before, I thought was fantastic.
Right.
And then she reads him. She's, like, I know what you're here for. I know what you're doing, yada, yada, yada. All right, let's go take a walk.
Exactly.
And then she appeals to the other side of him. I'm going to let Marc jump in here, talk about, they're standing at the side. They're having the conversation about the gift and about Luke and about what he's seeing. Go ahead and take that part.
It was interesting, the role that she played throughout the episode, that she was now the old wise sage. That, I mean, she's been a part of the Jedi Order. She's now expelled, but she's still a very powerful Force user. But I mean, she's seen the era of the Jedi and the way the Jedi need to be. And it was great to hear her talk to Mando and say, Jedi are not supposed to form attachment. This is why my master fell. Like, this was the whole problem.
Right.
And so, like, to have her talk about, like, the tenets of the Jedi, but to do so, like, she was really stoic. And like you just said, she was cool about it. It's neat to see her now be the elder statesman of the universe and to like leverage that role and to be a mentor even to Luke, to like give him, she just handed she handed him the package and was like, your call. Go with your gut.
But she even calls him Master Luke, though, which I felt was amazing.
Good old
she acknowledged him as such.
Right.
Yes.
But it was also, going back to Ahsoka, that she realized that Din, his heart was in the right place because he was able to sacrifice and give up for what was best for Grogu.
Yeah.
And you saw that look on her face as she realized that as Din left, that she's like, wow, that's the opposite of my old master. And she saw the good in Din at that moment. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going forward as she sees the good in Din. You know, Jedi or not.
I would go so far as to also kind of point something out, and this is a little pre where we are in what we're discussing, but that ability to read people, she does it again with Luke. What does she sit there and say later? You're so much like your father.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's like, whoa, wait a second. Like, where are you going with that? Like, when she said that, I sat up and I'm like, "Huh?" So I'm interested how that's going to play out a little bit. We're going to get a comment in a minute. Patty, we'll get to your question in a second.
I saw Patty's question. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get to that in just a second, Patty. So basically, as the story kind of progresses, the two of them are standing there. He sees it. He walks off, yada, yada. They go do their thing. We immediately break into, we're all sitting here, and what do we see? Grogu with a flying frog.
He loves eating frogs.
Yeah, snack time.
Let me tell you something. All of a sudden, they do that thing, and they bring it in. You see Luke, you see Grogu. It's like, what? Like, whoa, wait, hold it. Like, we're getting Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you, I thought that was a really epic thing. Who said they wanted to jump in on Luke?
I can jump in on Luke.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Go right ahead.
Well, what we see is Luke is a novice master. That he's basically pulling in
Great
the
observation.
things that he had learned from Yoda and a few of the brief things that he had learned from Obi-Wan. And the interesting thing was, I think this was the most novel thing that Luke did when he raised a lot of other frogs out of the water to show to Grogu that, look, once you harness and develop your power, there's nothing that can stop you. You're not going to be limited to just eating one frog.
Right.
And that was his lesson that he taught without specifically hitting it over the head with a hammer.
I thought it was fantastic because to me it kind of reminded me of when Yoda goes over and he pulls the spaceship out of
Yeah, definitely.
It was an X-wing, excuse me. Just sit there. So like he reaches out, pulls it out of the water. It's kind of like how they actually make the reference how students become the master becomes student kind of reference. And it's funny because, by the way, absolutely spectacular observation that he's a novice. He doesn't know what he's doing. He barely had any training himself, and he's the most powerful Jedi. And now what's he doing? He's now going to teach Grogu. Really cool. Right. Great symbiotic relationship.
Oh, yeah. Which even leads into the statement later on with Ahsoka when he's like, I don't think I'm teaching him anything. I think he's just remembering.
Well, and that was that's actually what Patty gets to right here. It's what did Luke mean when he said it's more like he's remembering than I'm teaching him. So dive into that for a second, then we'll come back because obviously Patty wanted to know. You're bringing it in. Let's roll that now.
I think essentially that was Ahsoka saying, no, that's letting Grogu become one with the Force. That's just bringing out the Force within Grogu. That it's something that's so natural and innate. I don't think it was anything that Grogu had been taught up until that point. And I think that Luke wasn't really understanding that sometimes you just teach through example and by leading someone down the path of how they're going to explore and become one with the Force and become connected with the Force. That's what I took from it. I didn't take from it being a direct knock on the fact that Grogu had been taught anything in the past, because Ahsoka gives him this look like, oh, aren't you so cute, Master Luke?
Mm-hmm. Well, and to kind of jump a little bit ahead, first of all, I don't have a picture of it, but it was really funny when they're walking and he's taking him and force hopping them along. Yeah. I got to tell you right now, that with the frog scene, I was in tears just laughing. I'm like, he's like, hey, let's go for a walk. And since you have like an 1.5-inch stride, I'm just going to force jump you along.
Right.
Let's see. I want to jump over to obviously one of the next things that happens, which is it's a pivotal moment in us developing what happened with Grogu. I'm going to let all of you kind of chime in because I know you guys are really going to want to get in on this. We'll start with the first part. You guys will all get a chance to jump in. I'm going to show the picture first. We know that Luke at that point is now saying, you need to remember. Do you want to remember? Let me help you remember. Marc, start us off with where he's going, what he's trying to do, and then obviously I will roll into the picture when you bring it up.
Yeah, so he tries to get Grogu to tap into the suppressed memories that he's wanting to, that he's let go, to get him to tap in, because he was trained. I mean, he was a youngling. He did have Jedi training, and Ahsoka brings this up in the second season of The Mandalorian, where she talks about how he's been hiding and suppressing his Force powers for a long time because he's afraid. And the last memory that he had was being Force users being hunted down. So then we go back into this flashback where he sees these 3 Jedi defenders from the safety of his bubble pod. They are fighting off the clones during Order 66. I have to say, I froze this just like you did. Originally, I thought that center Jedi was Jocasta Nu, who is the keeper of the Jedi archives and of records. You meet her in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
she's the one that's trying to help Obi-Wan find his missing planet. So originally, and there's a lot of theories that are being floated around that she's the one who takes Grogu and saves Grogu. So when I saw that center Jedi get murked, I had to do a freeze frame and go back because it was somewhat discordant with the theories that are going around. But this was again, it's always cool to see, gentlemen, Order 66 in different forms and different perspectives. I enjoyed that alone.
Larry, we're going right around the clock on this one. This one's epic. This gives us literally backstory on Grogu. Goes to 66. It goes to other movies. It takes us all over the Star Wars universe. You guys got to get a chance. So Larry, jump in.
Yeah, like I do agree with Mark. I do believe he does have that repressed memory and training from his time at a temple somewhere. I mean, if this is Coruscant, so be it. But so I think that when Ahsoka says, when Luke says that he's remembering more than he's being taught, I think there is definitely some training there that's, maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of that come out, depending, on some things that we'll get to, I'm sure. But it's a great scene, and I'm excited to see what happens here.
So between either DC or Crew, Jill's got a question. She says, not familiar with Order 66. Have to read up on that. One of you, if you guys could clarify, would be great. One of you grab it. Take it away.
Order 66 is what kicked off the Jedi Purge, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. That's where all of the clone troopers turned on all their Jedi generals and murdered them without any type of
remorse,
any type of exterior guidance, without any additional logistics. It was as if the switch flipped within their minds, and it was straight up murder mode.
Came from what movie?
Oh, that would be the end of it all, Revenge of the Sith.
Episode 3?
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. I thought everyone was frozen for a second. I'm like,
all of you guys paused. All of you paused, and I'm like, why? Wait, what?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is who gave that order. It was Emperor Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
Papa Palps.
And he says it. He says, execute Order 66. And then all of the, like DC had said, oh gosh, so mods, take care of that one. He says execute Order 66, and then all of the clones, like DC said, just execute all of the Jedi temples, the Jedi generals. They get swarmed. And when we see
pretty much just like this
in this piece here, this screenshot, Grogu is involved in something, and I see a little basket there too as well. I also want to point out that Grogu is not young. Yoda lived to be 800, 900 years old. So his training, what we kind of just talked about, was he had some type of training. At 80 years, we saw it in The Mandalorian, he was using his Force and then going to sleep.
Right.
I mean, he couldn't control it. So he had some type of training, no matter where that was at. Like Larry said, Coruscant, we don't know. It was pretty vague in the episode we watched. But I had a theory of someone who saved him. Marc denied that. I mean, Jocasta Nu, I think the librarian saved him. I don't know. But Grogu is now here with Luke, and then Mando before him. So,
No, it's still a good theory, Crew. I mean, because
Yeah.
she did, like, it's still out there. It can still work.
Yeah.
because the 501st, how Jocasta Nu died was from the 501st in the library. So I don't know how much time went by as Order 66. Excuse me, Order 66 like went around the galaxy, if you will, to each planet where the Jedi were.
Purged. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how quick that was. Was there clones on every single planet, or was
Well,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every
think it was a
Jedi
simultaneous.
had a clone attachment.
Mhm.
That was
They
the
did.
nature of the war.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I'm stuck on that Jocasta Nu that saved Grogu. I'm sorry.
So, but
I
basically,
vote Mace Windu.
you also point out a really good.
Grogu! Whoa!
So you do point out a good thing about how old or young Grogu actually is, because Luke says it later in the episode about why you can't be attached to people. For you, it's it's a short amount of time. For them, it's a lifetime.
Yeah.
And what he's basically implying is Yoda was, I think, what was he, 860 or something when he died, and it's
Over
like
900, I think.
over 900.
I believe.
And it's like you get to this place where it's like even at 900 years old, how many lifetimes? So a good pickup there as well. Then basically once we get past that fact that we realize Grogu's remembered, he wakes up, he's like, oh, I don't want to remember that. Basically it's force training time. One of my favorite things I think ever, which we've got to pay homage right here, because I mean, if that's not reminiscent of Yoda, nothing is. And that was obviously the design of it. We haven't gotten to that part of the scene yet. That's when he's saying embrace the force. But before that, Grogu jumping. The first two jumps, I am so glad I was not drinking soda at the time, because it would have come out my nose. I've never laughed so hard in my whole life. He's like, eh, and he moves like about a half an inch. And then so what happens? He takes out the training droid, puts it at his feet, and Grogu rolls it back to him. I mean, if this isn't the best thing you've ever seen. So, Larry, go ahead. Take us away with the jump, with this whole scene right here, up and into, including he's jumping on the rocks doing Grogu meets Yoda flips.
Yeah, right. So yeah, this is a great scene. Kind of some little comedy relief going on here. As soon as he does the first jump, like you immediately think Yoda, and when he takes on Dooku, right? Yep. And then Yoda, we've always historically seen him. He's walking along with a cane. Is really slow, and all of a sudden he's like, "Okay, it's on," and he takes off, and he's just flipping all over the place. It's like crazy. And so to see a little bit of that in Grogu, it was great. Like it gave me chills a little bit. It was just a fun, cool scene. And then it shows that like he is picking up really fast, which again to me is a sign that there's some other training going on here, and he is kind of just remembering now that he's not afraid to show that he is his power or his connection with the Force like he was before.
Well, there's something that happens during this time frame that is, I don't know, kind of personal to one of our council members. DC, what you got?
Well, so we're led through the basic poetry and mirror imaging from Luke's training on Dagobah as he's flipping through and showing off to his gymnastic tricks. And did you notice the little callback to his father when he lands on the creature and scoots forward from Attack of the Clones when he and Padme are having their little bit of tryst on Naboo? With the way Luke landed on it, and he did that little skid going forward. So rewatch that scene because it was definitely a neat little callback. But at any rate, so we get this amazing scene where we get Grogu and Luke together, basically reliving the Dagobah Yoda Luke scene, and he's talking to Grogu, giving some reflection over what had just occurred. And then he said, in the most poetic and beautiful of ways, he just says, "Don't try, do."
Don't try, do.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't know,
yeah,
DC, why is that important to you?
Well, my wife and I's channel is DC Michelle Do, and one of the mantras that we live by, and we always close out all of our shows to, is Yoda's quote of "Do or do not, there is no try." And after what Luke said last night, the two of us are in heavy discussion and possibly changing that mantra just because of the sheer beauty of the brevity of what Luke said, and also the beauty of calling back to his master, and how sometimes it's important to honor the past, but also to move forward.
You know, there's something prolific about it, because I'm going to go backwards to come forward, which is right at this scene when he's talking about memories. What does he say to Grogu? He goes, "Do you know anybody who speaks like this? Who speaks in riddles? Do you remember
Right.
your home world? Do you remember these things?" He's calling on him to do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And I think it's prolific to sit there and say, you know, there's so much going back and forth right now. And the way that this is written, the way that it was done, I have to tell you, this is why it's one of my favorite Star Wars pieces in maybe ever. It was just so well done.
Dave, what it did for Michelle and me as we were watching it, we looked at each other and the thought was, there just needs to be a Star Wars show.
Agreed.
Period. And we follow multiple characters, multiple storylines, etc. But there is one Star Wars show that just goes through.
If they would do it like this, now that they have, you know, like Mandalorian, we've got Book of Boba Fett, we have Obi-Wan coming, Ahsoka. If they would time them so one would end and the next one would pick up, you could almost follow them around as they were doing it. And maybe that's what they're going to do, and that would be epic if they did.
Yeah.
Crew, I know you wanted to jump in.
I just wanted to add what DC said about there is no try, there's only do. He also is having a conversation with Grogu about my master was small but had a big heart.
That's right.
And he's trying to tell Grogu that at the same time, like these are your people. And I mean, obviously we don't know the origins of Grogu, but that was a comment that was made by Luke, and just kind of coincides with what DC said. Is there's no try, there's only do.
I gotta jump into the chat for a second, because Brian Lee's been quoting things pretty much the entire time we've been on.
I try to answer.
So I'm gonna just kind of let you guys read off what he's putting in here, because there's a couple of things that he's making points on that we've already gone over. And if anybody wants to jump in, because I know that Marc and Crew have a feeling about Jocasta Nu. So if you see something, because there's this, she was killed in Order 66, and
that was a typo. He clicked,
and he meant to put not.
Who's not? Yeah, she was killed by the 501st.
Yeah,
but we don't necessarily know if it was part of Order 66 and what time frame.
Right.
There's a Charles.
This is something that we're talking about, where we'd love to see her escape from Order 66. Like, these are things to go along with the show that we're talking about. Like, if there was a Star Wars show, there's so many things that they're opening up now that you're 100% right, DC, that there should just be a show that moves us forward. There's no reason why they can't do it. They have the talent. They have everybody's interest. Right. We want it.
That's the Star Wars cinematic universe. That's their chance to do something special and different. To not follow the template that Kevin Feige has put forth, but to create something new, but yet have the same type of bloodlines and or lineage that kind of, in their own way, create that MCU. I think
and as Brian's saying, we know the time frame. It's in the comics.
Yeah.
So
follow the cinematic universe of Star Wars.
That 2017, the Charles Soule run that Brian's mentioning is canonized. It actually is. And she is in that. She makes an appearance in that as having survived Order 66. I think that's why he's saying that it is, because that is canon. Now, I mean, is there a possibility for them to ever reverse something that's in the comics? I mean, I don't think they would do that. I don't think Filoni or Favreau would do that. They have a lot of reverence for the extended universe, especially stuff that's been declared canon. So I think that's kind of where he's coming from, Dave, where he's saying that Charles Soule 2017 run, there's a 25 episode comic on what happens immediately following the death of Padme Amidala, and it follows Vader for 25 episodes, for 25 books, where he is hunting down and destroying Jedi at the request of the Emperor.
Exactly.
And he doesn't even have a red lightsaber at that point. That it's about him giving himself now to the dark side completely and totally. Great run. Crazy good books.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and that's why you guys are on here, because there are so many different ways of going between the books, comics, doing everything that we're doing. That's why you guys can answer all these questions. So I'm super appreciative of having your guys' knowledge sitting here on the council.
And for those of you who don't have time to read through the 25, look up Star Wars Theory and his coverage of those Darth Vader comics. If you don't have time to read them through, he gives a really great synopsis of them.
So moving on to Grogu's training, because at this point we saw him with the training droid. We see him start doing the flips. This is one of my favorite things in the whole world. I almost died when I saw this. And then, of course, you're going through, and what do you see? You see Luke start doing saber training. So let's jump in and get Larry to jump in, and let's talk about Grogu's training including the first time we see the green lightsaber get lit back up since Mandalorian, and Luke doing a little bit of practicing. There it is.
Whoa.
That was Valak.
Hi, Valak.
Did I just chop Valak's legs off?
Yeah, I think you did. Oh my God.
Look how evil that cat is. Look at it. It has its own skull. Anyway.
So wow. So the
we
training,
were here.
Okay, here we go. So the training with Grogu, see that shot right there. For some reason, I got like Karate Kid vibes right there. I'm picturing like Daniel saying like balancing up on the bow of the boat while practicing and stuff. But I thought it was cool to see like the lightsaber Luke start with his lightsaber, and you can see the reflection of the lightsaber in Grogu's eyes. Like he's just kind of like, wow. Look at this, it was a cool, meaningful shot. And immediately you think of like Yoda had a green lightsaber, and so you kind of see that connection. Like you see the green lightsaber in his eyes. Is that something that's like in him that he knows? Yes, that he knows that something's gonna, that's kind of his future, but possibly.
Anybody want to grab this question down from Jeanette?
Maybe is the easiest answer to that, Jeanette, is maybe. We know that Grand Admiral Thrawn has been name dropped. They don't know if the Timothy Zahn books are like what. They don't know what is going to come out of the Timothy Zahn books.
Canon.
Yeah. I don't listen again. Knowing how much Filoni and Favreau have reverence for the extended universe, the books, the comics, I would be shocked if they didn't pull something in.
Well, and it's also been made clear that Ahsoka wants to know where Thrawn is, and that is one of her missions in life that we picked up in her episode on The Mandalorian, because she's directly going after Thrawn when she questions whomever it was that had the Beskar spear. I forget the character's name, but that's one of the things she directly addressed her with before she has battle. Like, where is Thrawn?
Right.
So, I mean, basically what we get to see here in the episode, because we're going to pull you back in for a second, is obviously they're finishing up training. They're doing not finishing up. They're going through training. There's a ton of what we're getting to see. It goes back to Dagobah, kind of plays back and forth. And I'm going to kind of pull us along so this way we can get into the next thing that actually happens. Going back, Mandalorian leaves. Grogu reaches out for him. We didn't talk about that, but I think we all know what that meant. Hey, come back. Where are you going? He leaves. The training goes on. There's the Ahsoka scene with Luke. They kind of go back and forth, including where he goes, am I going to see you again? Which is kind of a weird thing, which I wanted to address before we moved on. She's obviously on planet. She's obviously there. They're doing their thing. why are they keeping their distance? You would think Jedi would be together at this point, or what are you guys thinking?
She fears Luke forming an attachment to her because of what she saw happen to her, or excuse me, his father. And she sees that ability to form unhealthy attachments in her mind.
Okay.
And I think that's the fear that she sees in Luke.
So staying to the Jedi code, we attach to nobody, we move down the road, have a nice day.
To a certain degree.
Okay.
But not necessarily that it's necessarily even about the Jedi code. I think it's literally about what she sees as a potential downfall in the Skywalkers.
So
Okay.
she was a Padawan of Anakin, right? And if
Right.
anyone in the chat has watched the 9 seasons of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka's in there, and there's a lot of dialogue with Anakin screwing up, and she's like, "Well, you did this, Master," and he goes, "Well, I do this because I'm protecting you." And there's a lot of things that happen in the Clone Wars with Ahsoka and Anakin, and knowing that Luke is the offspring of Anakin, she keeps her distance. Like you can see just in the Clone Wars itself how she's so attached to Anakin and how that went down. That now I think she just keeps her distance from Luke itself. Like,
and she was no stranger to Padme either.
She's
Luke's mom.
Yeah, Padme's
so
in
she
there as
knows
well.
the same capabilities.
DC, do you think though that some of that hesitance comes from her expulsion from the Jedi Order and not wanting to get too close to it again?
No, I don't necessarily think so, because I think in her mind the Jedi Order is gone.
Him trying to reform it though, do you think that she sees what he's trying to do again and she's like, been there, done that? That was my point.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see. Yeah, that's very valid as well. She doesn't want to see the same road to be going down. Yeah, that's definitely accurate. And I think that also just plays into the fact that she sees the potential bad in Luke, for lack of a better term.
Well, but she even says that you're so much like your father.
Yeah, exactly.
And I, like I said to you guys originally, I sat forward. I was like, "Whoa, he's in all black." Here and to a degree, and I can appreciate what happens at the end, and we'll get there in a second. But it's kind of like you can see how even Luke is jaded. The way that he's acting is a little bit. You can start to see, like when we do get that 7th movie. Why is he acting the way he's acting? And it's because each thing that's happened is driving him further and further. So I think it's an astute observation. So basically, once we get off planet, where do we go? We go to Boba Fett, right? We finally get, after an episode and a half, 28 minutes in,
the book of Boba Fett.
We finally get Boba Fett in the book of Boba Fett. Like, whoever would have thought that could happen? So what happens? We walk in, he flies in, we see the thing, he lands, blah, 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 take me to Fennec. They walk in, we finally get the Vespa gang again. We get to see some people around the table. I'm going to flash some photos. He walks in, what does he see? You can see all the way in the background. Who do you see? Well, there's Darth Wookiee. So you got Darth Wookiee, you got the mods, also known as the Vespa gang, for those of you who tune in. There's my Darth Wookiee, also known as Black Chrysanthemum. And then, of course, they all turn, and what do you got? You've got Mando, Boba. They have a look. They go back and forth. Crew, jump in here. Tell us about the meeting. Tell us about what we're seeing, how he walks in. Take us through it.
Well, they're building it looks like to me a bounty hunter empire to take back over. What looks like, the Daimo, right? Like, who is going to be Boba Fett? Mando kind of walks in before that the episode last week, right? He says, "Tell him it's on the house." I don't like that Darth Chrysanthemum, Darth Wookiee, Black Chrysanthemum, whatever you want to call him for Dave, looks at Mando and just like eyeballs him.
Yeah,
what's that doing here? Right. I saw that, and I was like, "Oh boy, do they have history?"
It's a pissing contest for them. That's
Yeah.
It's a very
like, who's the new guy?
You got to assume that they've crossed paths. They're both bounty hunters.
Yeah, well, it's a very short part in the episode, scene-wise, because it's kind of like, okay, we've watched Mando for episode 5, Grogu, Luke, Mando, Ahsoka, and then we're on the Book of Boba Fett. Here's where we're going with this. Mando comes in, and I think it goes even back to the marshal, right? Spice running with the pikes. That's all I really want to say because I know what's going to happen next.
We're coming up to that, but it was really about, what you're seeing on that digital board. I'm going to throw it over to Mark for a second. Mark,
territory is what I'm looking at.
You see that basically what's happening is the battle lines are being drawn. They've talked about the pike.
Mhm.
They've said that, they're making the move, that the other 3, mob bosses, for lack of a better word, they're sitting this one out. They're going to let the other one, the pike, come after them, go at them, make them weak. Why? It's a great strategy. What do you see on the board? What do you see who's in the room? What do you think of what Fennec is saying?
Fennec is kind of running point on this whole thing. Interestingly enough, Tamara Morrison was in a interview on television. It aired like about a week and a half ago, where he said he has way too many lines. He doesn't want all these lines. Boba Fett's not supposed to talk this much.
Right.
So I'm curious if he lodged those complaints during the show and when they were in production, because now this is like, I think, the second and or third meeting that she's run almost entirely. He just stands there and kind of nods on in approval. But this was funny, like being in the corporate world, man. Dark Chrysanthemum had somewhere else he wanted to be at that time. He did not want to be on that conference call. It's so funny that you guys brought up the look that he made, because that was the same exact thing that I laughed at. I'm like, look at him eyeballing Boba Fett. Like, you are wasting my time. I will say this very briefly: is Boba's put together an all-star crew. If they're going to take on Cad Bane and the Pikes, they've got the right crew to do it.
I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
So we've made about 9 mentions to this. So at this point,
That's why I held my tongue.
Yeah.
so before we get to that, they're outside. Mando just leaves. He hops in the Naboo starfighter. He takes off. They're doing the thing. Marshall kind of looks around like it's the Old West. He's like, "God, it's a beautiful day out. It's nice." It says, "How you doing in the town?"
Yeah.
Wind chimes ring. He looks right. Immediately whips gaze left. Off in the distance, off the rising heat of the floor, there's a figure. So let's start with, because Mark wanted Cad so bad, it was ridiculous.
I did.
He even texted me early and was like, "Yo, dude, I'm on it." So let's go through. I'm going to flash up the pictures as you talk. Take it away with.
I had one wish list item from this series, and that's it. It's Cad Bane. Very appropriate that Dave Filoni is the director of the episode who introduced Cad Bane, because he created Cad Bane. They were trying to find an alien for the Clone Wars that was going to be like, they were trying to reimagine a new bounty hunter, and they were inspired by Lee Van Cleef. He's Angel Eyes over in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that gaze is what inspired this character. Dave Filoni wrote Cad Bane, and he is the greatest bounty hunter. After Jango Fett dies, he is the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. He has faced off against Obi-Wan and Anakin at the same time with a myriad of weapons, and he held his own. He has been the personal assassin and like errand boy for the Emperor. He is very good at what he does. He has been around since the Republic. He has been around since the Clone Wars. He has infiltrated. Crew broke out the holocron.
I'll bring it again. I'll bring it back.
Dude,
Season 2, episode 2. What did Cad Bane do?
He breaks into the Jedi Order to steal a holocron with the names of all the Jedi children in the universe to create, like, to basically, before there was an Order 66, he was tasked with breaking in, getting the names of all the young Jedi so that they could kill them as children. This guy is cold-blooded. There are some bounty hunters who do it for the money. Cad Bane does it because he is a straight, cold-blooded killer. And he is working for the Pikes. So it never happened. So it's kind of like silly to even mention this. but there was an undeveloped 4-episode arc in what was supposed to be the last season of the Clone Wars. It never got made. There is footage though. It's raw, and he and Boba Fett square off in a standoff, just like an old Western, and they draw on each other. Boba hits Cad Bane and knocks him over. Cad Bane dome shots him, and that's the dent that you see in Boba's helmet is from Cad Bane. The fact that there's a dent in it canonized Cad Bane before he even became. It canonized him in live action before he even came into live action. But now seeing the stranger roll into town, he and DC kind of said this before. The way he looks is amazing.
Oh.
And DC, that's me throwing it to you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just completely torn away with the amount of menacing that he came in with, that he is here to deliver a message, and also he's going to deliver this message by doing what he does best, and that's murder. And he doesn't just come in there as an assassin, cold and quiet before he kills. He straight up lets you know that stuff is about to go down. And yeah, in true Cad Bane fashion, if you will.
Well, I mean, all you can say to it is there's a scene that precedes it, which is because we glanced right over it. And I just want to touch on it because I saw something roll through chat, which, basically what happens is obviously there's part of the end of the scene right before this one where we also kind of glanced over the fact that the mayor's aide was at that meeting with, where they were in Boba Fett's lair. And I think that there's something interesting to be said there, which is that he made an unscheduled, as they called it, and they said, no, it's a vacation. Mm-hmm. So he's off planet because the war's coming. And so what did they say? We need foot soldiers. Where does he go? He goes to this town. So he originally wanted the marshal to become a garrison leader. So they're recruiting on both sides. And I think that that's pivotal for us to point that out is there's a recruiting going on. And that's really where when Cad Bane comes, what's he sit there and say? He goes, Boba Fett. He already knows why he's there. Boba Fett, worked for the Empire. And he's a bad guy. He's a murderer. He sees that. And what happens? He kills him.
And the deputy.
I would like to ask,
And
though,
the deputy.
if the deputy didn't kind of look at the marshal and go, do you think that the marshal would have been killed?
Yeah.
He kind of like snuck out. He's like, go back inside. He told everyone, go back inside. Free city lights. Go back inside.
It goes back to
I'm still interested in what's happening.
It goes back to what Marc said earlier. The problem when you're typecast in a role is in Justified, he absolutely blows him in half. And on this one, when he gets shot down, I'm like, really? I'm like, come on, man. Haven't you seen an episode of Justified? That won't happen.
Yeah, I'm just going off what Marc said, though, in watching Cad Bane in the Clone Wars. Cad Bane is no one to mess with.
Nope.
I don't think the deputy
You mean with that face that only a mom could love?
Well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's the kind of guy that nightmares are made over.
Yeah,
But
when
His teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when he takes
Well,
on...
Heather put something in the chat. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's Disney, but it's funny.
Blue Hopper from A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
With a cowboy hat on. That's Cad Bane.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So, but that's the point though, is here comes dude. He, obviously they square off. But what I find so amazing about it is 10 minutes earlier before this happens, he's about to be a garrison leader. He walks outside. He says, all right, get the town on order. They're not going to like what I have to say. They may want to jump in because he's already made up his mind. He's in. Okay. That's that implication that he's made. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going to ask the question. Is he really dead? Because they don't actually say
I
he's
don't
dead.
think so.
No, it's a shoulder shot. He winged
one.
him.
Yeah.
It's Cad Bane. That's why he straight up murdered the deputy. That
He
was
hit him
his
3
way
times.
That's his way of saying, look, you got a little clipping. Did you see what I did to your boy?
Well, what's funny about it
he
is
overkilled the deputy.
did anybody hear the Eric Clapton song "I Shot the Sheriff" when he did when this happened, or am I like the only one? Well, I did shoot the deputy, and I hit him 3 times, and they were center mass, and they were beautiful shots. And I'm going,
gone. The marshal's not. He's not a sheriff.
Well, what really just made me laugh though is it was like because when I saw the first original shot, I'm like, he hit him in the shoulder. It's up here,
Mhm.
and I was like, those other 3 shots that he hit were perfect center mass shots. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of like an epic moment. And what's he do? He's not afraid of anybody. He holsters his weapon, turns around, back to everybody,
Back
and
to everyone. Yeah.
strolls out. Like, I told you guys, this is what's going to happen. Stay out of our way, and you'll be fine. We don't care about you. Just leave us alone.
As long as the spice runs through here,
you got it.
You will be not harmed.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Right.
That's all they care about. So we break from that scene. Where do we go? We go back to Luke and Grogu. Is obvious. Well, actually, no. We go to the bar scene, don't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go to the bar scene. I had to look at my notes. My bad.
Go.
So we go to the bar scene where we see the Pike making another move. They walk in. Nobody's observant enough to realize what's going on. Larry, take us through the bar scene all the way through to Big Bada Boom.
Yeah, so it shows that the Pikes coming in. They come in, they sit down. They're carrying one of the I can't remember what it's called.
Ice cream maker.
Yeah, the ice cream maker. It's got a name though. I can't think of it. But anyway, so they come in, they sit down, they order some drinks, and basically they're sitting there waiting, and then all of a sudden they get up and walk out. Right, so they get up and leave, and it's kind of like, what's going on here? And then they firebomb the bar.
So what's the significance?
Well, I think it's sending a message.
Okay.
It's sending a message. I mean, this is Boba's territory, and they're just going to waltz in, and they're going to firebomb one of his, one of the places that operates in his territory that's under his watch. Basically,
this is the Godfather. This is the Godfather.
Yeah. So this is like
Mafia scene.
Yeah. Just come in and bomb somebody and walk right out. It's like, okay.
So are we
Shots
basically
fired.
saying that we would watch Star Wars, the Mob series, if that's what happened? Like we would all get down?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I signed up for with the Book of Boba Fett.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So, Crew, take us through. What's the move on Boba Fett now? Are they going to go to hit multiple places? What are the Pike doing?
So with the Pike leaving that scene that Larry just discussed, and then blowing up that bar, I agree with Larry. It's like it's a mafia mob, whatever you want to call it. They're blowing this up to get attention, right?
Right.
We're here. We're gonna run spice through Tatooine. It doesn't matter, and I don't know about what Boba Fett's gonna do because we didn't see much after that scene. Like we don't know what his answer is or what his the repercussions are for Boba and his Darth Wookiee. I have no clue, right? Mando's back here, and Fennec's there too, calling the shots, like DC and Marc said. I don't like to foreshadow. Marc knows this, DC knows this, Larry knows this. I don't know what the next episode is going to entail.
Well, the truth is, we were all wrong last week, so it's good for you for not doing it.
Yeah,
we all jumped in last week.
I mean, what do you guess is going to happen? Boba Fett's probably going to go, "Hey, they blew up the bar where I get my credits from. This is Mos Espa. This is what I'm the daimyo of this area. We haven't seen the Jabbas in 3-4 episodes, so." I think there's going to be some repercussions.
DC?
It was a direct hit on his territory, and a clear hit. And Crew hit the nail on the head. That's where the money was being laundered through that bar. That's where the credits were flowing through, if you will. I think that was the key to the whole money laundering scheme right there. And I think we're going to see definitely a lot of repercussions that come out of that.
Marc, wrap us up with this, because then we're going to go back to Grogu and Luke and
I mean, like, no one was more wrong last week than I was, because I was shocked that they were going to I was so shocked that they were going to take another episode of a show called The Book of Boba Fett and spend it on everything except Boba Fett.
You're not alone. By the way, we all jumped in with you. So just know that you may have been the first person to cannonball, but I got your back on that one.
I mean, like, I will flat out say I was straight up wrong. The one thing that I'm just going to continue to hang my hat on, and the only thing that I truly believe is coming is I really think that Crimson Dawn, I really believe, is the power behind the Pike syndicates and the money and the muscle that would be hiring Cad Bane. Again, I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right in this, but that's what makes this fun. Like this is this is why you put your pants on in the morning. Is you want to speculate, you want to see the stuff that you read and you consume come true. I know that they have Kira on for another project. I know that they kind of the Star Wars fandom has been crying for Solo 2. So maybe we don't get Solo 2, but maybe they give the fans what they want in giving them some of their favorite characters from that movie. I'm like Crew, though. I don't want to go on record for next week because I just want to enjoy next week, guys. That's
yeah. And speaking of Solo 2, after seeing the jaw-dropping CGI of Luke last night, they can do it with Harrison Ford deepfake.
Absolutely.
I have no question in my mind that they can't bring him along.
It's like a VFX CGI is what they use. I read on it, and they did a pretty phenomenal job with Luke in general in those scenes.
It was Luke.
Yeah, it's really good. Crazy. Yeah. The only problem is just going back real quick. My only point is Mark Hamill's voice is Mark Hamill's voice. So Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, they're going to have to find someone that is legitimately close to his voice. So they're going to continue to use its CGI. That's what I've been reading up on.
Now, what's amazing is about 3 hours ago when I stopped for just a few minutes, I did see Sebastian Stan throw his hat and say, I'd like to take the character back out for a spin. So, you have somebody who's ready, willing, able, and capable. I think that we're going to see a lot more of this because it worked. When you guys say that you don't want to speculate, I'll jump in that pond. I don't care. I think it's funny.
Are you the frog?
What's that?
Are you the frog?
Yes, I am. I'm Grogu's pet frog. So what I would say to you guys is this, because Jill actually also threw in something. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Jill's. It says, I think we're going to see Crimson Dawn for the final episode.
I agree.
What I would say is at this point, what we're actually getting ready for, and they told us in this episode, so I feel pretty safe with this one. They sat there and said, we're gearing up for war. Everything we talked about 2 weeks ago, last week, this week, it was all turning in a direction. If we were binge watching this, it wouldn't be a surprise. So, basically what they're saying to us is, here comes, and we're going to leave the ultimate cliffhanger next week. That's what we're going to be talking about next week, is there's a Book of Boba Fett 2. We already know it because there's no way they're wrapping this story up in 32 to 48 minutes to 52 minutes. They're not doing it. So I'll be the guy that sits there and says what they're going to do and what they've been doing the whole season is story building. Mm-hmm. Every time we started in the beginning, we kept going, well, what are we waiting for? It was the backstory. Now the backstory doesn't matter. Really? That's what the entire beginning of the episode, the entire series was. So there's no way that we're just going to take it and go, and it's gone. We're getting ready for war. We're getting ready to see, I don't remember who said it, but we haven't seen the Hutts. We're going to see them.
Tusken Raiders.
We spent the entire series putting together the best assassins and battle plan that we possibly could. Are you kidding me? As you hear the music go, dun, 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 and it ends next week, it's going to be the first shot fired. So the entire episode is going to be building up to that so that we can do that. And then if anybody doesn't believe that Mando 3 doesn't have some crossovers in the Book of Boba Fett, I'd be shocked. That's my hot take. Anybody else want to throw their hat in it?
My speculation for next week's episode, it's just going to be Grogu and Luke sitting and talking for 43 minutes.
Well, DC, possibly 37, maybe 58, maybe 42.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's just going to be dialogue, and it's going to be written by Quentin Tarantino, and it's going to be amazing.
And there's bombs going off in the background that you can hear in the background behind me.
You Quentin Tarantino it, you go backwards, and then you tell the story forward.
So right? What's going to happen is they're going to sit there and sing Kumbaya, and then what's going to happen is they're going to meditate.
Yep. And then roll credits.
And then all you're going to see is this.
Oh, wow.
And it's the end of the show. But, I mean, all seriousness, though, I don't have a problem saying that's the way that the show feels. Every time that we feel like we're going left, we go right. But they're telling us what they're going to do. Last week, he specifically said, I'm going to see Grogu. And we sat there and we're like, and I was with Mark. I sat there. I'm like, there's no way that they're
There's no
going
way.
to take
Yeah, no
two
way.
episodes in a row of the Book of Boba Fett and blow through it without Boba Fett.
Yep.
Well, they gave us Boba Fett for about 9 seconds.
Mhm.
So next week we'll get him for 12.
I mean, we had a lot of Boba
Yeah.
Fett.
Maybe we'll get him to actually shoot something next week.
Maybe.
Are we gonna hit on the elephant in the room, like Dave says, the last scene?
I think
That's
we
just going to
have
be carry over to next week. That's
I think we have to go into this right now.
Okay.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
thought that was a box of spice, by the way, not a lightsaber.
hey, let's sit
I
down.
literally thought it. I was like, is Luke running spice
You can either be a spice runner or
or a
you
Jedi?
can be a Mandalorian. So I think what we need to do is we need to just sit there and say this is the pivotal moment in Grogu. He's giving him the choice: go with the chainmail and go with Mandalorian, and don't be a Jedi or be a Jedi. It's as evident as it is right here, where he goes to hand it to him. He's explaining to it that it's Yogi. It's Yogi's lightsaber. So, hey, boo boo, you want with some chicken and biscuits?
Biscuit.
Spice biscuits.
Hey, everybody, let's
Hey,
do
boo-boo, you want a
lightsaber.
lightsaber or do you want spice?
So now, let's be fair. You're a kid. Someone holds up dangly car keys, or they hold up a lightsaber.
Which he teased him with earlier.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
you can analogy dangly car keys. You hold up like chains, or you hold up
Chainmail versus.
glowing
I mean, come
sword.
on. Look at the look on his face. Like, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
ooh, it's shiny, shiny like a bowl of mashed potatoes. So it's like, really, like chainmail or this is what you got. You saw me playing with it in the woods. You want one? I got one. By the way, it's your size. You can go ahead and
Right.
cut up some cheese. We can make, like a good crudité plate. It's good to go.
well, I think this is where the council is going to differ. We're going to have different opinions on this, but who wants to go first? Someone needs to go first. I'm not going first.
I'll tell you
It's
what.
a trap.
Since Sith Lord Crew is backing out, let's start off with DC. Start this thing off. Tell us what we're seeing with Grogu, Luke, and I want you to hypothesize which one's Grogu picking.
Okay, well, I really think that we see, kind of going back to my earlier statement with Ahsoka, we are seeing Luke's possessive side, that he wants to start this school and he wants to hinge it on Grogu being his first student. And he's holding on to that. I think that was the whole point of him showing him the lightsaber first. Because Grogu is meditating. And what does Luke do? I'm going to pull out my lightsaber and just start randomly doing some lightsaber tricks whilst Grogu is meditating. What other reason was there for him to do that other than to literally influence Grogu as someone he wants to stay within his fold? And yeah, he presents the fairness of, okay, well, check out this little package that you got here from your friend, right? It's chainmail, it's whatever. Or you could have this that belonged to my master, the one who trained me, again, trying to keep that lineage of student master or master student, whatever you want to call it.
Looks just like you, by the way.
Exactly. And then turns it on. So to me, I saw a little bit of manipulation in a strange way. Again, and I think that might come back when we see some allegiance as far as Ahsoka is concerned with Mando and his willingness to let go of that attachment.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Hang on one second, because you just hit on something super important I want to address real quick, and then you go back in. Because Jeanette actually put in here, I like Luke less after this scene. Now, why I'm putting that up there is because it goes back to a comment I said earlier that was at the end of the show. And that is that Luke has become jaded.
Yeah.
He has seen people get slaughtered. He's seen people die. He's had all these bad things happen. The Jedi are, he's rebuilding. He's doing all this stuff. But at the same time, look at what he becomes, because we do know it. We can see it in the future movies. We know what they say the outcome is. he's very jaded right now, and he is absolutely. I love the word that you used. He's manipulating Grogu.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be said because everybody could feel it. There was this. I don't want to say an evilness to it, but there was definitely, a negativity in doing.
It's manipulation.
It's a manipulation, which is a negative term.
It's like his father.
Yeah.
The sins
Go
of the
ahead,
father.
DC. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to kind of point that out.
No, I mean, you're exactly on point. And as far as like my speculation as to what Grogu is going to choose, the fact that we don't see or we didn't see Grogu in any of these sequel trilogies kind of leads me to believe that he doesn't stay with Luke.
Ooh.
It kind of leads me down that path.
Okay.
Because as we know, well, I was going to say Ben Solo, but we'll say Kylo Ren because he, I guess, turned at that point.
Yeah.
Kylo kills everyone in the school. Made a point of clearing out all of Luke's disciples, all of his young Padawans, and don't think for a minute that he wouldn't have cleaned out Grogu. So, for lack of that happening, I think he goes with Mando.
Well, what's funny is Jill threw up here. He's still afraid of the training in his memory, so I think he's going to pick the chainmail. Life with Mando was safer because he knows Mando's not going to let anything happen to him. Yeah. So, good observations on both points. Let's throw it to Larry and see what Larry thinks. What did you think of the scene? Chainmail versus lightsaber, and what's he going to pick?
So again, yeah, it's just a good scene here. Who's going to say no to a lightsaber? I mean, if someone offered me, a chainmail shirt or a lightsaber, I'm going lightsaber every time. But, I do think, Luke is very manipulative here. He kind of plays with, kind of Grogu with some of his attachments and things and saying, a lifetime, for you is like, there's basically how the time passes for Grogu compared to like a human. Like a short time for Grogu is a lifetime for somebody else. So he might not see, the Mandalorian again. But it's an interesting scene. I think the only thing we can expect to be is like surprised at this point with what they're going to do.
Amen to that.
I feel like he's going to choose the Mandalorian. I think he's going to go back. I mean, just some of the setup, with his new ship. They took the droid section out. It's like perfect for Grogu to be right there behind him. Ooh. And and kind of something that DC said also about Kylo Ren. That this would be, Luke was saying that Grogu would be his first student in this new school. But in some of the comics, I think it's The Rise of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren says in some of his backstory that he was the first student to attend the school under Luke's tutelage. So again, that kind of throws it off a little bit too. Like who's the real first student? Is it going to be Grogu or is it Kylo Ren or Ben Solo? So I think he's going to choose. I think he's going to go back to Mando.
Some big things right there just came out. So before we move on to the next council member, if you are in here and you have not hit the like button, please go ahead and hit that. It helps share this out so more Star Wars fans can get to us. Make sure you've bopped that button, hit it, smash it, lightsaber it, shoot it, pew, pew, pew it.
Don't shoot it.
Hit that like button. And if you like what you see every week, come on back. Come do this. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you can be a part of the council. So, and then we've got some new news after the council is over in 2 weeks. When we come back on, we'll be announcing some other things, like how you can be on this show with us as a guest. So stay tuned for that, but make sure that you're watching. Make sure you do those things. With that, let's kick it over to Grand Moff, Marc Valentine. What did you see in the scene? How is he going to pick? What in the world is going on? Tell us now.
I'm throwing my lot in with Darth Larry. The Rise of Kylo Ren. He says, Ben Solo says that he is the first student of Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Academy. So I'm basing my prediction on that and that alone. My podcast partner at Bobby's Frickin' Podcast said the show's called The Mandalorian. What if it's not Mando who's the Mandalorian? What if it's Grogu? What if it's Grogu? and he chooses the chainmail and becomes a foundling and becomes a Mandalorian.
Well,
Yeah,
we will see a
crazy.
tiny Mandalorian in the season finale. Is what
Wouldn't take much Beskar.
Nope.
Yeah.
We
So-
already got the chainmail Beskar.
That's the first start. So, all right, Mark's going out there. Everybody so far is at the same place. Crew, you in the same place, or are you?
This is not how I thought it would go.
Come on, do it.
I understand it. I understand. The first student of Luke was Kylo. What I think is Grogu takes both.
Where's that?
There you
He takes
go.
both.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't hate
Yeah.
that, man.
Yeah. Yes.
Here-
Yeah.
Well,
here's
you got
why.
to defend.
We
You
talked
got to
about it
defend
in
that position because I'm
recent,
gonna come at you like a dancing yak.
We had some chat. Put it in manipulation from Luke, right? I need to
Mhm.
gain students, right? I'm a master Jedi at this point. I want to rebuild the Jedi Council because at this point, there are Night Jeanette. There are people that are there's no Jedi left because we're kind of flowing into episode 8. I think Grogu takes the chainmail. He might go back to Mando for a little bit, but he's going to get that lightsaber. That's it. He's getting both. Oh my god.
Yeah. I would kind of agree with that because
Okay.
you know one of the main things too that Luke preaches is you can't have any attachments, right? You can't have any personal attachments. But look at Luke. I mean, he's a Jedi Master now at this point, right? What about his attachments to Leia? What about his attachments to Han? What about his
His
attachments
attachment
to
to
Chewie?
his father.
Chewie.
Exactly. So there's all these
Right.
things also. It's kind of like it's a mixed message there because
Yeah.
Well,
Go with
so
both. That's it.
I'm going to go ahead just because at the end of the day, you guys are all experts. I'm going to side with no one on this. I'm going with it's a shiny lightsaber. It's green. It's glowing. It's cool. It cuts stuff. You never have to look for a knife to cut butter. You can cut any sandwich. You can cut down a tree to go get
Or
the
a num-num
frogs.
cookie.
I'm telling you that when he saw the frogs come out of the water, he went, I want to be able to do that. I think he's sticking with Luke. I think he's picking the lightsaber. I think Luke gives him the chainmail anyway. But I think he picks the lightsaber. I'm going against all of you, and I'm gonna pick the unpopular pick and say he grabs the lightsaber. I think Luke decides that he's going to put the chainmail on him anyway. And I think Luke is also going to say the reason that he's doing it is the Jedi Order wasn't exactly correct with their with robbing someone of feeling, because that feeling is what turned his father to the dark side. And by denying him when Anakin was standing there with his mom back on Tatooine, when he said, I'll never see you again, what caused him to go over the top? The death of his mother. He came back and slaughtered them all. I think Luke is going to start to realize that feelings are not the enemy, that they should be embraced, and that we're going to see a different way because we are a little bit more woke in the world. And I think that they're going to drive the Jedi in that direction, that we should not be separate, because what did they point out when the Mandalorian said, but that's not the Mandalore way. That's a Jedi way. They're going to try and come together. You watch. It's going to be, he's going to pick the saber. He's going to still get the chainmail. Not like what Crew said with picking both. He's going to get one and Luke's going to give him the other. My point.
yeah.
Interesting. Oh, mic drop.
Now, for the record, every single person up here, with
I'm
the
just
exception
saying
of
he's
me,
taking both. I'm just saying he's going back. He's going back to Mando.
I don't think so. I think he's staying with Luke, and he's going to wind up. He's going to wind up with the chainmail. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to wind up with Mando at some point, but he's got to get stronger. As you said before, when he uses the Force, what happens? He goes to sleep. He's got to learn to control it. It's like a copperhead when it's a baby. They expel all that venom because they can't control it. Ultimately, it can kill them. This is nature at its finest, and it's. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. It's a symbiotic relationship. He's always going to have that attachment to Mando. He's going to live a lot longer than Mando is. There's a war coming. Mando would not want him around during the war, so he's safer with Luke at the moment. What did Ahsoka say? There's no safer place than right here. So he's not going anywhere for the moment. May that change in the future? Yes. I'll address the student issue like this. Kylo may wind up being the first student, but maybe this is like his Padawan in the sense of he's only got one. So he's using it as his Padawan learner, knowing the fact that he's remembering, not teaching. So there's a couple of things that came up during the episode that I really, really point to. All Out War. He's staying with him because of the All Out War. We'll revisit this in season 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
mic
Definitely.
drop. That was a mic drop.
Now,
Yeah.
for the record, everybody up here but me is a Star Wars expert. I'm some guy who
Did you
watches
look it
stuff
up
from
on Google.
No, I'm just a guy who watches TV and says, "Hey, that looked really cool, and what do you think is going to happen?" So that's just my personal opinion. I could be way wrong, and next week you guys are all going, "Oh, he took the chainmail." And you know what? At that
38
point,
minutes of dialogue.
here's the best part, though.
Oh, gosh.
We're still going to get episode 7. We then can go binge watch Boba Fett start to finish. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. Let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Amen.
Exactly. Yep.
Good episode. It was a good
So
episode.
it was the Star Wars we were all waiting for. Let's go around the room. We're going to start with Larry. Give us some wrap up thoughts as to what you think happened, so that we can get on out of here.
Yeah, again, so like this is a great episode. It just keeps adding more layers and layers of Star Wars that aren't really familiar with. I mean, they're bringing all these things, to live action where they might have been like in the, animated series and stuff like Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that, where, a lot of people weren't really into that because it was animated, maybe thought it was geared more towards, kids and stuff. And I have watched some of it. To be honest, I haven't watched it all. So to me, seeing like some of it in the animated series, but then bringing it to live action I think it's going to broaden their audience even more to some people who are maybe not quite into the animated stuff, and then maybe, but they'll kind of come back to it and say, oh, well, this is what it's like. Maybe I will go check it out. So I think it's just expanding the fan base, expanding the universe, and I think it's just nothing but good. I have complete faith in the direction that they're heading with the story and just the way they are building these stories. So I'm excited just to see. And watch the ride, enjoy it.
It's funny because a couple of weeks ago we were really questioning what they were doing, and now we're all sitting here going, "Wow, it's awesome!" And that's kind of the point of doing the Galactic Council is we get to kind of theorize, talk about it, hear what everybody's doing, and change our opinion because we get to see as it goes and watch it unfold. I think it's an excellent evaluation. So, Mark, take us home with thoughts, what we've seen up till now, all of that. Take us through.
Great episode. All hail the king and the heir apparent to George Lucas, Dave Filoni. Kudos to you for continuing to bring in, whenever you direct, for bringing in a new character. Super psyched for what we're going to be getting from Ahsoka. Cad frickin' Bane is a part of the live action universe. And gentlemen, I love talking Star Wars. I can do this all day.
Nice.
Amen to that. DC. Come on, Captain, take us in.
No, Captain Marc.
I know it was,
dude. He's Captain right there. But no, this episode, I want to just jump off of what Larry said and the lore building. Man, this is awesome. I'm loving every minute of this. I'm glad that I'm getting to get Star Wars in my life and to get Star Wars that's making me feel. Because let's face it, the sequel movies, they didn't give me too many feels. I enjoyed it because I got to see Star Wars on the big screen, but I didn't get too much here. But throughout the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and at certain points during this book of Boba Fett, I've actually gotten emotionally touched, and it's just a thrilling time to be a Star Wars fan. And it's great to be sharing this adventure with you guys and to be discussing it as well.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
So, crew. Well, wait a second. And you got to get your line out of that movie, out of the last show. So, DC, you got,
yeah, there's a lot of gravity on that.
I know. So there's all kinds of new things. Look at this, everybody. Brian Wasco Pico Train coming on board as an FPEN member. For those of you who don't know Brian from the other channel, welcome in, Brian. He is also my multi-pass friend. So anyway, crew, take us in, take us around the corner.
Oh, man, to top off what Larry, Mark, and DC said, the Book of Boba Fett has been a journey. Pretty wild journey, if you will. Star Wars in general, just like DC said, Marc said, it is bringing what Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and everyone else bringing from the Star Wars universe, if you will, from the comics to the cartoon shows to the movies. It's all encompassing. It's very fun to watch. It's very fun to be on this panel and discuss it. We may not have all the answers. We may not be the expert at some things, but I will tell you it's super fun to watch. The only thing I will say is, man, we need to see some Boba in episode 7.
I think we're going to see an all-out war. So I think you're going to see him. I think he's going to be in the front of it like a general, and I think that's what we're going to see.
It's just been a pleasure talking to all you. We're all friends. We all text each other, and it's been a pleasure.
Wait a second. You guys talk? Why am I not? What? Wait, I wasn't in on this.
Nice job, Crew. Why did you have to tell him?
Jeez, Crew.
Oh, we know each other? Oh, shoot.
Just for that.
He's out. He's out.
He just went down the ventilator shaft. Don't worry, the Emperor comes back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Telling anybody.
Right.
Spoiler alert from Grand Moff telling us that he comes back in 3 of the worst movies ever made.
The dead speak.
Yeah, well, we will get there after we get to Boba. Once we get done with Boba Fett, the show's going to take a right hook at Albuquerque, even though it's a left turn by Bugs Bunny. We're going to we're gonna jog to the other side. Wait till you see what we have coming up. Don't think that when Boba Fett ends that is the end of the council. It is not. It is only just begun. These are a great group of friends, and we're going to keep doing this week after week after week. We're going to be changing the format once we're done with Book of Boba Fett. As you've noticed, we've grown with the show, with the series. These guys have more Star Wars knowledge in their pinky toes than I do in my body. So it is an absolute pleasure every single week to bring them in, to challenge them to get to their Star Wars best and to bring out their inner force. So it has been so much fun doing this with you guys, and it's going to continue. So I don't want anybody to think that was a wrap up. That's just simply me saying thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely.
You guys have been a blast to do this with. So you guys all did your little spiel. That was mine. And with that, what I'm going to say basically is that it was an absolutely epic episode. I could not think of a better way for us to start to wrap up the Book of Boba Fett than what we just did. That was Star Wars through and through, including hearing the Star Wars music. Finally getting that. DC said it was an emotional attachment. I'll tell you what, I had that same feeling. It connected me to the show. I have said to all of you privately and together, how do you get our generation Star Wars on board? You give us what we want. It's not hard. Give us the music that we want. Yeah. Give us the characters we're looking for. I saw R2-D2. I almost freaked. I'm sorry. I don't care if they rewrite some of the stuff. I'm so into this. It's ridiculous. I can't wait till next week with you guys. So anything anybody wants to add before we get out of here?
Cad freaking Bane.
Hold on.
R2-D2.
No, I'm with Marc. Cad Bane. Look at that.
What? R2-D2? Come on.
Nah.
Luke mother frickin' Skywalker.
There he is. There's R2.
Sky Guy.
No.
Sky Guy Jr. So, I mean, we've got everything we're looking for in Star Wars verse right now.
Okay, I think Sky Guy Jr.
Sky Guy Jr. You got to love that reference, though, right? It's like, geez, but he can't win for losing. But for Our Castle Life, this is Larry with Our Castle Life. Go find him over on YouTube, Instagram, Our Castle Life. Larry, his awesome wife, Andrea, their cat, Valak, which is and Azrael. We always forget about Azrael, but we're not going to. Valak's just going to be a superstar because he looks like a Sith Lord. We have Marc with This Life podcast. Show up that shirt. Go like this. I got my Florida Park Explorers. You got your This Life. Nice. Go over there. Get over to his channel. He gained 60 subscribers yesterday. He is on fire. Get over there. They've got another podcast for Boba Fett on Sunday. Abu's freaking podcast. Get over to Marc's channel. This Life. You'll find out everything you need to know.
Yeah.
DC from DC and Michelle's Do. I'm going to let him finish out with his normal line in just a minute. But get over there. Watch. They have 2 shows going on. One for cooking, one for blocking and talking. Make sure that you're paying attention to them. Absolutely fantastic. Crew is our resident Star Wars aficionado who keeps buying stuff, including something from yesterday.
That's
which-
not true.
Yeah, it is. And ultimately go over to his Instagram, follow him. He's going to be putting out content. He just doesn't know it yet. It'll be Funkos and Star Wars. You watch. We're all waiting to see. DC, give us your catchphrase as always as you wrap us up, brother.
Well, since my wife and partner isn't here, I'm going to close it out in a different way. And that's just because I was moved. So, with that being said, don't try. Do.
Look at this, everybody. He goes with the new Luke Skywalker Yoda-ism because he can't do the voice. So, with that, we're wrapped up with another council meeting. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. If you have not hit that like button, make sure that you do. There's Valak. Look at him. Doesn't he just look evil? I agree, Valak. Make sure that you check out our partner channel, Pete McDivitt. I just realized you have Valak up to the camera. Make sure you go over and check out Pete McDivitt. That is our partner channel. If you are looking for great Disney content, get over there and support Pete. Go check out sports. He's doing Olympics. He's doing All-Stars. He's doing everything. Following this show, in about 20 minutes, we have Zoel's World over on Disney Underground. If you want to see something absolutely epic, make sure you get over to the Disney Underground. Tomorrow night, Clash of the Magic, where we will go head-to-head. Sith Lord Crew will be on that show as well. Last but not least, everybody, tomorrow is the last day. If you want to win this bucket, make sure that you jump in, go over to Florida Park Explorers. It is a raffle sweepstakes style. So make sure that you get over there immediately. Support all these things. Make sure you've hit like. Make sure you've hit subscribe. Make sure that you don't pay attention to anybody on screen right now because they're all out of their minds. And with that, for everybody that's here, from Larry and Mark, DC and Crew, Dave saying, may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.
Take care, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye,
We
everybody.
are the Florida Park Explorers.
We explore the parks 5 to 6 days a week with great live streams and vlogs. We cover everything from rides and food to magic and fun and fireworks. So come join us on our adventures as we take you through
The Disney parks and more.
and check out our all-new channel, the FPE Network. And thanks for watching. Today's show is brought to you by Mickeyverse Travels. So contact Mickeyverse Travels today.